Even people unfamiliar with weapons recognize the K-47. But if I ask you, what's the smoothbore shotgun that everyone will recognize?
I'm talking about the Special Purpose Automatic Shotgun, 12 high. I'm Vlad Sparastoria, and I know about shooting.
And today we're taking a look at this very interesting Italian shotgun. It's a shotgun that works both as a semi-automatic and as a pump action. It was actually the first commercially successful weapon to do this. So let's move the camera, take a look at how this weapon came to be, and then of course we'll look at the details. The disassembly and 3D rendering will show how the innermost parts work. And of course here at the range. Here we are in the studio, even though there really isn't much to say about the Special Purpose Automatic Shotgun, 12. Its history is quite short, obviously tied to the Franchi Company, a historic Italian shotgun manufacturer, Franchi, in the 1970s. Seeing the interest that the world was having at that time for a series of self-loading shotguns, up until that moment, except for a few notable exceptions in the past, they hadn't been that popular. He tried to aim. Here we are, law enforcement. Worldwide, people have often used smoothbore shotguns for various reasons. In this role, smoothbore shotguns offer several advantages. First, their relatively limited range can be useful to avoid collateral damage. For example, it's easier to shoot at moving targets, for instance, if you're a prison guard in America and someone is escaping. From Alcatraz, the 12-gauge fits well in a series. They hadn't been popular. Here we are in the studio, semi-automatic shotguns, which were quite popular here in the studio, even though there weren't many exceptions. So here we are in the studio with semi-automatic shotguns, which until then, if in the past pump-action shotguns were popular, they ruled. Why would we want to have a semi-automatic weapon in this context instead? Because it's simply a better combat weapon. In situations where you need to move, like chases or when people shoot from vehicles, using a pump-action shotgun is hard. A semi-automatic weapon is much better for this. You could have one or the other. Then the special-purpose automatic shotgun had the great idea to create a gas-operated shotgun, but with a practical way. In the same pump of the weapon to disconnect the gas system so you could very quickly convert the weapon to pump-action use. The idea was that you used the semi-automatic mode, but when you had to fire a specialized round, you switched to pump-action mode. The tubular magazine has a switch that can prevent feeding ammunition from the tube, so you can load a specialized round even when you already have a round loaded. Many police forces widely recognize this idea as a winning solution. The special-purpose automatic shotgun, known for its aggressive look, soon became an iconic weapon. Let's move it from the camera for a closer look. Here is our special-purpose automatic shotgun 12. Sorry about the cicadas, it's summer, but I'll try to reduce the noise for those listening at home. So first of all, on the back, we have the folding stock that's made of these sheet metal pieces. In many places, they're held in place by these spring-loaded balls. In short, they're pins that, as you can see, can be pushed in. And here the stock goes over it, otherwise I can also completely fold the stock. Which will actually lock onto what is a ghost ring. The sight mount, the rear sight, as you can see, can be folded. And there's this spring that holds it. To unfold the stock, we push this lever back, which opens it for us. Don't pay attention to this tape right now. It's something the owner put on his weapon. I want to point out something very important, though, as we move to the center of the weapon, the safety. This safety lever is a safety. Suppose it's the first type from Franchi, but it was changed later. Attention. At the time, Franchi recalled the weapons that had these safeties, because switching from safe to fire could cause it to discharge a round. My advice, regardless, is that you should always handle any weapon pointed at a safe place. But if you have one of these Franchi, be especially careful with this safety, because it's not certain that it will happen, but there is the potential for it to happen. Obviously, we have the trigger, then we have the handle, the charging handle, which is actually useful when the weapon's pump is disconnected and the weapon operates in automatic fire. On the other side, we also see the lever that locks the pump from opening when the hammer is cocked.
This is something that almost all 12-gauge shotguns in this category have and make use of.
Then importantly, this is the button that controls the elevator, which locks the elevator so it can't move otherwise.
This is something that, during the live fire test, is actually really annoying, as we'll see, because as range officers, we're used to these things not being present on shotguns.
It's easier to load, and I've gotten obsessed with the Winchester 1897 lately, as I mentioned.
But also for the Bosberg platforms, which simply don't have this elevator in the way, they're much easier to load. So, by pressing this button, you can simply go ahead and load the weapon. Going back, we find the pump and, most importantly, the button used to adjust the two spring tensions.
In fact, the pump can be set in two positions.
Right now, we are in the forward position where there should be automatic fire, while by pressing and moving it back, we switch to pump action. This actually does two things. First of all, it connects the pump to the bolt carrier. In fact, if we're in automatic mode, the pump doesn't move back.
That would be an obvious problem.
But most importantly, it moves a ring that either cuts off or supplies gas to the system. We'll see this a bit better when we use a 3D to show it to you, but there's something interesting. During the live fire test, I'll warn you now, we'll struggle to get the automatic mode working. The weapon stopped cycling gas because the armorer installed the ring backwards after cleaning it. The person in charge had the armorer clean and assemble the weapon before giving it to me. Actually, it's a small ring that can be installed backwards, but it should only go in one direction. Unfortunately, we lack the tool to disassemble it, which is fairly complicated. The weapon has no gas, so the firing test will only use the pump. Armiero davanti simply, we have a very useful sight for shooting with things like slugs. Inside there actually won't be many surprises. To disassemble the weapon, first we remove the magazine tube. Everything pops out with the spring, so we can remove it this way. The powerful spring, the magazine, the tube. This way the weapon will want to come apart. By separating the two parts, we gain access to the gas system, bolt carrier, and bolt. And the barrel is what we could call the shield and the actual pump. We're guys, we took it apart before, and it was way easier, but now nothing works on camera. Here we go, we managed to grab the handle of the... Here we go, and this way it separates. This, as you can see, is... It was mainly because the gas piston is technically a stroke piston, but it runs around the barrel. What we might call the op rod, the one that transmits the force from the piston to the bolt carrier. Strictly speaking, like many pump-action rifles, it's the bolt carrier that, as you can see, swings. A block goes up and down, not much, but just enough to complete the opening and closing. The large coil spring shown here is the recoil spring. And this isn't particularly surprising, or is there really nothing excessively different? In the end, these are shapes that we know very well in some way. Thanks to the power of digital simulation, we can better observe exactly what happens inside the weapon when switching from automatic mode to pump action mode. To do this, as we've seen, you press a button, you move the pump back for pump action mode while you move it forward for automatic mode. Two things happen when you do this. After removing some parts, let's examine the button that lets us switch between these two modes. We're in automatic mode with the gas system activated. Let's see what happens. And the pump is disconnected from the gas piston. The gas piston, which is this central part here, around the weapons tank.
We can see it a little better.
If we turn on the colors, it's this yellow part. All of this is the gas piston, right? When we put it in automatic mode, we press the button that locks it and we move it back a little. And do you see this extension on this button? In this mechanism, it attaches to the gas piston. This is the only connection that the pump actually has with the gas piston. So this is the semi-automatic mode. So the pump is connected to the gas piston, then to the op rod, then to the bolt carrier, and then to the bolt. So it can move and you can perform all the operations. But if I move it forward and disconnect it and take it away, I'm not connecting anything at all. Meanwhile, something else occurs.
To explain, we need to discuss other parts. We have this bluish part, which is the gas block physically. We have the tank. Let's remove these components so we can see a bit better. And we have this extension. It's like saying that part of the pump itself is a separate piece, but consider it as if it were the pump itself.
Can you see better what's happening from this angle? There is this yellow ring. We could say that it's interrupted at one point, which can be rotated into two different positions, and it's rotated by the pump itself.
So, in fact, this piece that comes from the pump has a diagonal cam. If I change the two positions and the pump moves back and forth, you can see how everything follows this yellow piece, specifically from this extension that slides in this cam and rotates. With the right angle, this notch allows the gas to pass toward the piston that is around the tank. So in this position, the gases from the gas block can push the piston back.
While if we change their position, the gases have nowhere to go.
So the semi-automatic doesn't work, but we have the handle connected to the pump, so everything can work manually. Notably, the automatic mode won't work during the live fire tests. After checking the weapon without the camera, we notice this yellow part. This ring, which should be in two positions, is mounted exactly in reverse. In other words, this notch is exactly on the right. In both positions, the semi-automatic mode didn't work because it wasn't supplying gas to the system. Unfortunately, it's probably something the gunsmith did, according to the owner. The owner of the gun brought it to a gunsmith to have it cleaned just for filming, and this gunsmith must have reassembled it. On the contrary, unfortunately, we weren't able to remove it without the proper tools. But anyway, ironically, it's actually more interesting than seeing the automatic fire because it shows you a design flaw in the weapon. Think, for example, about USBs. The USB port, you either plug it in or you don't. There's no wrong way to plug it in. It doesn't go in. Well, this ring has a flaw. You can put it in rotated 180 degrees. You won't notice until you're at the shooting range. So let's reassemble the real weapon and go try it out. Here we are back. So let's reassemble the weapon. Maybe the hardest part is assembling these parts so they're perfectly aligned. We have these three parts in the bolt carrier and gas piston. We put everything nicely together. Here we go. And now, since we actually have to fight against the recoil spring, we have to put the charging handle in its proper position. The problem is that, doing it on camera is quite difficult.
Because I need to see it?
Wearing it correctly really helps. I can't see.
Here you go. Putting it on is a little easier than taking it off, as they say.
Let's put everything back together. So we just stick these components in. Sorry if you can't see very well. It helps a little if the shutter is pulled back. There you go. This way we can put the gas tube in. I meant the gas tube, not the magazine tube. I'm really out of it today.
Attach it to its threading. I hope you saw something.
I've taken apart rifles with less effort. Honestly, a lot. What can I say? Now we can try it out at the range. Let's go. Admit it, in the end, you're here on this channel, not so much for the shooting test, but for the chatting. We must always do the shooting test, no exceptions. Since most people just show the paper with the holes in it, while I avoid using paper.
I'm talking about sensations and ergonomics. I know you like it, but we have different types of ammunition.
This weapon, as we said, needs strong ammunition to cycle in semi-automatic mode. It's actually designed for buckshot or slugs. It's really meant for combat police use, so it needs strong ammunition. So now let's load it. Let's try it out. First, the regular pump action. Let's load it. As is often done with these shotguns, let's put a round in first. We need to press the button on the left. The weapon is now ready to fire, but we'll continue.
Oh.
When loading, it's important to hold down the button on the left side, otherwise the magazine will disconnect. This is done to switch between different types of ammunition. Okay, The weapon is loaded. We have our target. We're at 25 meters. Let's see.
So, you know what, actually?
Should we reload? I want to try the shotgun with stronger ammo first. Then I'll tell you how it feels.
Also, because when you fire it, it's a bit different from regular pump-action shotguns. Now you'll understand exactly what I'm referring to. It's extremely hot today, even though it seemed cool this morning.
Anyone who mocks my sweat will be mocked back with a 12 gauge.
Okay. First impressions, very first ones at the pump. The recoil is brutal. You know how much I love good recoil and how much I despise bad recoil, the recoil. You feel this sheet metal on your shoulder and face. You feel it everywhere. So you have to pay something to have a folding stock. This isn't the best, but I repeat, it's a compromise. The thing I find very interesting is the pump. The pump, normally in pump-action shotguns, is directly connected to the bolt carrier. And so this movement is very smooth, very fluid actually. This is because it then has to disconnect and activate. The gas system is one of the hardest pumps to move in the sense that it has a series of snags, almost a series of parts that slow it down. It's very cumbersome, it's almost a dragging piece. It somewhat reminds me of the Winchester 1897, which we've seen on this channel. There too, the pump did a lot of things really happened. Let's see now. Let's reload it and try the automatic mode. We load the first round, press the button underneath, and move the pump forward. The pump is now locked, enabling the weapon's automatic mode. I'll tell you, the weapon is light, but it's quite front-heavy, more than other rifles, but it feels lighter than my rifle. Let's reload. What happened? Didn't it cycle? It didn't cycle. Let's repeat the pump for a moment. Here we go. Let's reload. Let's try with stronger ammunition. We took the slugs. Dry bullet, as you can see from the shell, which has much more power. There should be a much higher pressure here at this moment. So let's switch back to automatic mode. Here we go. Let's load the rest of the rounds and try again.
If it works this time, the automatic cycle should help since these are our strongest rounds.
Thank you very much. Okay. Let's see. It cycled. No, but the shutter didn't even move. That's really strange.
It seems like the system isn't getting any gas.
No, in fact, it's not even moving. It's really strange. In fact, let's stop for a moment. I need to check this thing. What?
Shall we take a look for a moment?
We found out why the gun doesn't fire automatically. You won't believe it. The owner of the gun, rightly so, before bringing it to me, had it thoroughly cleaned by a gunsmith. The gas ring is the part that regulates whether the gas is open or closed. It was installed backwards, so it doesn't supply gas to the system in either position.
And that's the worst part.
We tried to take it apart, but you need a special tool for how it's installed because you have to counter-rotate it against another rotating part to get it out. So I'm sorry, no automatic this time. But what I can give you are the smashed watermelons. Thank you for...
they have ceased to exist.
The Special Purpose Automatic Shotgun, 12, is a notable chapter in Italian firearms history. A weapon that has remained very famous and immortalized by movies and video games, and today is extremely sought after on the collector's market, especially in the United States.
It's a weapon that showed the world that a pump action and semi-automatic system makes sense for police and law enforcement applications.
From there, many would copy this idea of application. Franchi later improved this weapon by introducing the Special Purpose Automatic Shotgun 15, but it didn't match the Special Purpose Automatic Shotgun 12's success or iconic look. Still, it's an interesting chapter in Italian firearms history. Thank you for watching. As always, these videos are possible thanks to people like you. You as owners of this weapon who wrote to me to offer me the chance to try it. Without you, this channel wouldn't exist, let's be honest. If you want to contribute in another way, maybe you don't have weapons. Check the description links for channel memberships, t-shirts, and donations. This isn't free. Making 3 videos a week on this topic is costly, just so you know. And if things go well, I just break even, let's be honest. And to everyone who doesn't want to or can't contribute in these ways, at least leaving a like or a comment helps a lot. The YouTube algorithm doesn't really like giving visibility to this kind of firearms. They're rarely seen, and only through your help can we grow the Italian firearms community. This isn't just for me. Also, like or comment on other firearm-related channels. It's you, especially the Italian firearms community, so it's mainly in your interest. As always, we'll see you next time.